By 2035, America was doing what it does best, arguing loudly, building taller, and increasingly ignoring the media's exaggerations. And right in the middle of all that greatness, you had Charleston, South Carolina. Beautiful place. History, charm, unbelievable, shrimp and grits, hot and humid. And living there, winning, absolutely dominating, was a woman named Melody Langford. Let me tell you something about Melody. Very successful. People said, Melody, how did you do it? And she'd smile, great smile, strong smile, and say, I bought low, I built high, and I never apologized. That's what winners do. She was a property developer, the best in the Southeast, maybe the best in the country. She turned old cotton warehouses into luxury towers, marinas into money machines, and parking lots into palaces. Charleston loved her. The banks loved her. The politicians smiled nervously when she called. That's respect. That's power. And then nobody saw this coming. An island appeared. I mean, it literally showed up. One morning, fishermen near the mouth of the Savannah River, just past the Daymark Island passage, looked out and said, that wasn't there last week. And they were right. A sandbar at first, then bigger again. Sediment, tide, storms. Nature was doing a development project without permits. Very unfair. By the end of the year, it was an island. By 2032, it was 5 miles long and 2 miles wide, green, stable, and absolutely gorgeous. Palms, grasses, birds, prime real estate, ocean views, shipping lanes nearby. And here's the best part, it lay right across the border between Georgia and South Carolina. Georgia said, it's ours. South Carolina said, like hell it is. Lawyers said, billable hours. The media said, fantastic. Breaking news forever. Nobody agreed. Nobody built anything. And that's when Melody leaned back in her Charleston office, looked at the satellite photos, and said something very smart. I want it. Georgia was practical. It's a very practical state. It loves ports and it loves money. Melody flew to Atlanta, walked into the governor's office and said, I want to buy the island. Georgia said, we'll sell. But what about South Carolina? Oh no. South Carolina puffed its chest out. Historic claims, colonial maps, Revolutionary War vibes, the Civil War. They said, that island is ours and nobody's selling anything. Big mistake. Huge. Melody didn't panic. She never panicked. That's her first rule. She thought big, not a little island. No. She envisioned something called Liberty Key, an exclusive luxury island town, an eco-resort, private docks for mansions, tax revenue pouring in like champagne at a billionaire's wedding. She opened 5 playbooks at the same time to maximize her options. She signed a tentative purchase agreement with Georgia, non-binding, very public, press release, big headlines. Georgia moves to sell New Island, billions at stake. South Carolina flipped out, exactly as expected. As that was happening, Melody quietly commissioned a legal team, top people, killers, to research maritime law, river mouths, sediment origin. Turns out most of the sediment came from upriver in Georgia. Interesting, right? Very interesting. Then she launched a media tour, friendly interviews, smiling, calm. She said, I just want to develop this place responsibly, jobs, nature, unity. Of course, a word like unity drives politicians crazy because they can't oppose it without looking malicious. Melody knew her business. She bought land, cheap land on the South Carolina side of the river, warehouses, old docks. Suddenly she was the biggest private employer in 2 counties. That's leverage, tremendous leverage. That was when the politicians swung into action. South Carolina sued Georgia. Georgia countersued South Carolina. But Melody, She sued nobody. That's the key. She just kept building the narrative. Then came the psychology. She invited the governors of both states to Charleston. Private dinner, shrimp, bourbon, expensive but tasteful. She praised Georgia's foresight. She praised South Carolina's heritage. Compliment sandwiches, very effective. She said, I don't care who owns it. I just want to make it incredible. You'll both win. South Carolina said, we won't back down. Melody smiled. That's okay. The next week she leaked plans, not officially, just accidentally, showing that if Georgia controlled the island, the main access port would be built on the Georgia side. Millions in port upgrades, hundreds of jobs. The Georgia media loved it. The South Carolina media panicked. Melody was such a cool operator. Her next move was genius. She announced a fallback plan. Her checklist included the warning to always protect her downside. If the island deal failed, she'd build Freedom Harbor, the largest luxury marina and logistics hub to be found anywhere between Virginia in the north and Florida in the south. She would build it entirely in Georgia. South Carolina business leaders lost their minds. State politicians' phones ran hot. Emergency meetings were called. Suddenly, South Carolina was willing to discuss shared jurisdiction. Melody swiftly countered. There will be no shared confusion. That's bad for investors. She held a press conference on a boat with the island in the background, wind blowing her hair, very cinematic. She made a stern announcement. I believe in clarity. So, here's my offer. Georgia should sell the island to a new, independent development authority. South Carolina would receive a guaranteed proportion of the land tax revenue and naming rights to the main boulevard. The ferry terminal would be built on the Georgia shore. The island would be legally independent for zoning, a special district, very clean, very smart. Both states hesitated. So Melody got tougher. She ran ads on YouTube and on X, not attack ads, aspirational ads, kids running on beaches, solar towers. The voiceover proclaimed that Liberty Key will be built by America. Public opinion shifted rapidly. Polls came out confirming it. People wanted the place built. They wanted jobs. They wanted the politicians to stop arguing. Renegade politicians in South Carolina tried one last move. They claimed the island was a protected wildlife zone. Melody showed up with environmentalists, real ones, respected ones, who said her plan was the best conservation project on the coast. Checkmate. In 2034, after 3 years of fighting, both states signed. Melody Langford paid the multi-million-dollar deposit. She took her place on the board of the Development Authority and took control of the island. She didn't celebrate loudly, just a small dinner and champagne with her team. She raised her glass to them and said, we did well. Construction started immediately, fast, efficient, no nonsense. Liberty Key rose from the sea like a dream with permits. And here's the twist. My favorite part, when reporters asked her, how did you do this? What is your secret? She smiled and said, I love thinking big. What about Georgia and South Carolina? They still argue sometimes. But every quarter when the tax revenue rolls in, they smile and focus on something else to quarrel about. And the island? Beautiful, profitable, iconic. It's a winner, just like Melody.